Imagine a flight attendant in the 1970s, working a night flight. She's alone in the narrow, dimly lit galley of a commercial airliner, surrounded by the heavy, rhythmic hum of the jet engines. She turns to check the meal service, looks into the dark, reflective glass of the oven door, and makes eye contact with a man staring back at her. A man she knows died months earlier. She screams, but by the time help arrives, the face is gone. This report was the first of many. Dozens of highly trained, highly rational pilots and flight attendants soon began reporting identical encounters with deceased crew members aboard their flights. Understanding how these apparitions ended up haunting a modern airline fleet requires tracing their origins back to the physical disaster that claimed their lives. This is an Eastern Airlines L1011 TriStar, the specific model of aircraft used for Flight 401. On December 29, 1972, this jet took off from New York, heading for Miami on a routine flight through clear weather. This image shows the cockpit environment the crew managed. As they approached Miami, a single landing gear indicator light failed to turn on. The pilots focused their entire attention on troubleshooting that one tiny bulb. While the crew was fixated on the light, the autopilot partially disconnected. Slowly, silently, the massive aircraft began sinking toward the ground in the dark. Flight 401 slammed into the Florida Everglades at nearly 200 miles an hour. As this wreckage shows, the impact was devastating. Over 100 people died that night, including Captain Bob Loft and flight engineer Don Repo. This photograph shows the airboats rescuers used to navigate the treacherous swamp environment. They fought through mud and jet fuel in total darkness to pull survivors from the water. Federal investigators eventually closed the case, ruling the crash a result of human error. But for the employees of Eastern Airlines, the story didn't end in the swamp. A few months after the crash, rumors began circulating within the airline. Flight attendants reported seeing a strange man sitting silently in first-class seats or resting in crew cabins. They identified him as Captain Bob Loft. These encounters followed a specific pattern. The apparition appeared solid and lifelike, yet remained entirely unresponsive. If anyone approached him or tried to speak, the figure vanished. These reports came from veteran pilots and senior flight attendants, aviation professionals trained to observe their environments with clinical detachment. As the volume of these independent accounts grew, they were no longer dismissed as locker room talk. The airline was facing a consistent series of sightings that demanded an explanation. The explanation that emerged was mechanical. After the crash of Flight 401, several major internal components, like ovens and elevators, were found to be completely undamaged. As a cost-saving measure, Eastern Airlines recovered these parts and installed them directly into other operational planes throughout their fleet. When mechanics cross-referenced the flight logs, they found that the sightings were happening exclusively aboard the specific Frankenstein aircraft carrying those salvaged parts. Then, the reports took a darker turn. The spirit of flight engineer Don Repo reportedly appeared to an active crew, breaking the silence of previous sightings. According to the witness, Repo looked directly at them and delivered a protective warning. "There will never be another crash. We will not allow it." For many employees, this suggested that the salvaged metal had become a physical tether for the spirits of the men who died with it, carrying their protective sense of duty into the rest of the fleet. Eastern Airlines management reacted with alarm. The ghost stories were beginning to disrupt operations as crews became hesitant to board specific aircraft. Insider reports suggest management initiated a cover-up, burying incident reports and threatening employees with termination if they discussed the sightings in public. Instead of ending the rumors, the corporate crackdown only served to validate the employees' fears, cementing the legend of Flight 401 into the history of the airline. Skeptics offer a grounded counterargument. They point out that the Eastern Airlines community was suffering from severe trauma and collective survivor's guilt. This diagram illustrates the concept of mass psychological projection. In this theory, the sightings weren't spirits, but a collective manifestation of grief by employees struggling to process the loss of their colleagues. However, the consistency of the independent visual confirmations by trained observers remains difficult to reconcile. The truth remains caught between the limits of science and the weight of the testimony. 5 decades later, the crash of Flight 401 persists as the most enduring and chilling ghost story in aviation history. While investigators closed the official book on the engineering failure years ago, the legend suggests that for some of the crew, the flight never truly ended.